This is Vaijayanti Patil from Turbe MPS. Today we are going to deal with energy flow in an ecosystem part 2. Before we start, let us quickly discuss what we have done yesterday. We have studied about the food chain and the food web and the trophic levels of the organisms in the food chain. We have studied how the solar energy is trapped by the plants, and with the help of that solar energy and the mineral nutrients, plants prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis. Whatever is necessary for the growth and development of the plant, it is absorbed by the plant, and the excess food material that is prepared is stored in some form. This stored food or the energy is consumed by the organisms of different trophic levels, like herbivores who directly feed on leaves or the fruits of the plant. They get the energy. Then the secondary and the tertiary consumer after consumption of these animals. We have also seen after the death of all the organisms, and even the fecal matter is decomposed by the help of decomposers like bacteria, fungus, and certain other decomposing organisms, which break down the organic compounds present in the body of organism into the inorganic form and make it mixes it with the soil, water, or the air accordingly. So this is how the flow of nutrient takes place. I have taught you about the different trophic levels. What is trophic level? Each level of the food chain is known as a trophic level. The step at which the organism obtains its food is known as trophic level. For example, the plant, they absorb the solar energy and mineral nutrients and produce their own food. Hence, they are known as producers. Not only plants, but there are also certain bacteria who carry out chemosynthesis and produce their own food. So all those autotroph organisms who can prepare their own food using the inorganic substances present in the environment are known as producers, and they form the first trophic level. The organisms who are dependent on these producers, they are known as primary consumers. Those who consume only the green plants, they are known as herbivores. Then comes the organism who feed on these primary consumers as their food. That is, they do not eat leafy plants, but they eat flesh of the primary consumers. Such organisms are known as secondary consumer or tertiary consumer or the carnivores. Now, these organisms, out of these organisms, few are the organisms which will consume both the plant material as well as the animal source to obtain their food. Such organisms which obtain their food from plants as well as other animals, they are known as omnivores. Now, if we observe in the nature, the number of organisms at each trophic level goes on decreasing. That is, the number of producers is very large. There are lakhs of species of the producer plants. Then comes the primary consumer. Then comes the secondary consumer, and then comes the apex consumer. Okay. So the number of organism also goes on decreasing as the trophic level goes on increasing. Now, there is a question like, what happens to the energy which is transferred to the apex consumer? Does it remain trapped in the apex consumer even after the death of the organism? Okay, so let us try to get these answers from the further explanation. These are the two scientists who carried out their work for study of the ecology. They studied the pattern of the tropic levels. They studied the flow of energy at each tropic level. Of this, Charles Elton was the British scientist who first proposed the concept of ecological pyramids. It was done in 1927 after his studies of tundra ecosystem of Bear Island in England. Hence, this pyramid is also known as Eltonian pyramid after the name of Charles Elton. The energy pyramid is also known as Eltonian pyramid. Similarly, the food chain and energy flow in the food chain was first studied by Lindemann in 1942. So these are the two scientists who majorly contributes in the systematic study of the food chain, the flow of nutrients, and the flow of energy in the systematic manner. Remember the names. Now, what have they done? They have created a systematic stepwise arrangement of all the organisms, taking into consideration the number of organisms at each tropic level and the amount of energy trapped at each tropic level. They have represented it diagrammatically. Number of producers and the energy trapped by the producers is always large. Hence, it forms the base of the pyramid. Then comes the primary consumer, then the secondary consumer, and at last the tertiary consumer. As the number and the energy of the organism goes on reducing at each step till it reach the topmost or the apex consumer goes on reducing, they obtain a shape of pyramid. Okay. This is known as the energy pyramid or the number pyramid. Now, what is energy pyramid? When we study the flow of energy, it is known as energy pyramid. Okay. See, this figure shows energy transfer that takes place at each tropic level. There are different levels of energy exchange in the food chain. You can see at the, now this is the pyramid of energy in the aquatic ecosystem. That means in the water. Okay. In water, there are phytoplanktons, means small algae, which are the producers in the water. They carry out photosynthesis. They trap solar energy, absorb the nutrient present in the water, and produce energy. If they have 10,000 kilocalories of the energy, while it is getting transferred into the next level, that is the primary consumer, who are zooplanktons. Now, what are zooplanktons? Zoo meaning animal. Planktons meaning very minute. Say the larvae of the other fishes or the very small fishes or the bacteria that are present in the ocean or the water, they are known as zooplankton. Now this zooplankton, see the amount of energy when it is transferred from the phytoplanktons to the zooplankton, it gets only 10,000 calories. Then when the fishes, small fish eat these zooplanktons, the energy transferred is 100 kilocalories. And when these fishes are consumed by the apex consumer, example human or the sharks, it is just 10 kilocalories. If you absorb this graph, it is going on reducing by 10%. Okay. So the initial quantity of energy goes on decreasing at each level of energy exchange. Similarly, number of organisms also decreases from the lowest to the highest level. This pattern of energy exchange in an ecosystem is called a pyramid of energy. Okay. When we draw the graph or the pyramid in terms of the energy present at each trophic level, that is known as energy pyramid. Now, energy transfer takes place with a proper law, which is also known as 10% energy loss law. Okay. Now we all know sun is the major source of energy for the earth. Solar energy from the sun is trapped by the plants to carry out photosynthesis. Now, for example, if the energy produced by the sun is 1000 joules, when it is transferred to the plant, 10% of it is lost in the environment and only 10% is absorbed by the plants. So from 1000 joules, it becomes 10 joules. Now, this energy available as food and 10% of the energy is transferred to the primary consumer, whereas majority of the energy is lost in the environment. See, it is going to environment. Okay. Secondly, when these primary consumers are eaten up by the secondary consumer, same, whatever activities the primary consumer are doing, while doing this activity, 10% of the energy is lost and only 10% of the energy is transferred to the next level. So 1% is transferred to the 1 joule is transferred to the secondary consumer. Now out of this 1 joule energy, 0.9 joules energy is lost in the environment due to the activities carried out by the tertiary consumer, and only 0.1 joule of energy is available as a food in the carnivore. So energy flow in ecosystem always takes place at 10% energy loss law. This is a law. Now, what will happen if there were no decomposers like microbes and fungi in the nature? See, imagine student. Every day we put trash into the environment, right? Whatever we are consuming, 20% of that has been thrown as a waste material. Okay. Then similarly, in all the organism, and even after the death of the organism, the body of the organism will lie all over. If there are no decomposers, no process of decomposition will take place, then soon the entire planet will be covered by the dirt all over. We all know, you must have seen dumping grounds in your nearby localities. Okay. How the every day the dump is going on increasing. Imagine if there is no decomposer, then the there will be mountains and mountains of the waste material all around on the planet. Okay. Again, these decomposers, they break down the substances into the simpler compounds or the simple substances which get mixed with the soil, water, or air. If there are no decomposers, this process will be hampered and the nutrients will be trapped within the body of the organism only. It would not be recycled. It cannot be recycled. It cannot be reused because what nutrients plants are absorbing, whatever decomposers are adding into the soil or the water or the air, that is utilized by the plants for their growth. And further, the energy transfer takes place as we have studied it in the food chain. So if there are no decomposers, firstly, there will be dirt all around. Entire planet will get covered by the waste material or the dead bodies of the organisms. Secondly, if decomposition does not take place, the mineral nutrients will be trapped within the bodies of the organism. They would not go back into the environment and cannot be reutilized or recycled. So decomposers are also very important. Now we'll talk about energy flow through an ecosystem as well as how nutrients flow. We have studied food chain and food web. We have studied at each step in the food chain and food web, the nutrients circulate. They are in continuous circulation from one trophic level to the other trophic level. Nutrition as well as the energy. We have studied sun is the most important source of energy in an ecosystem. Green plants store some of the solar energy in form of food. Before reaching the decomposers, this energy is passed on from one trophic level to the next. After the death of apex consumers, their energy becomes available to the decomposers like fungus and the other microorganisms who decomposes the dead animals. In the process of obtaining food from the remains of organism, decomposers convert them into simple carbon compounds. These substances easily mix with air, water, and soil, from where they are again absorbed by the plants and incorporated into the food chain. Decomposers dissipates some amount of energy in the form of heat. However, no part of energy ever returns to sun. Hence, such passage of energy is referred to as one-way transport. Okay, now let us see with the help of this chart. Sun is a major source of energy for any ecosystem, for the earth. Okay, energy given out by the sun, that is solar energy, is trapped by the producers, that are plants. They carry out photosynthesis and prepare chemical form of energy and store it for them. That stored energy is taken up by the other consumers who cannot prepare their own food. These nutrients are transferred from the producers to the primary consumers. Primary consumers are eaten up by the secondary consumer. So the energy and the nutrients will flow from primary consumer to the secondary consumer. After the death of primary consumer or the secondary consumer, the decomposers will consume the bodies of this organism. They will convert all their body material into the dissolvable form, which gets mixed into the soil or into the water and air. Say, for example, whatever gases like carbon dioxide or the oxygen, it gets released into the environment, into the air. Similarly, all the elemental forms like sodium, calcium, potassium, phosphorus, iron, sulfur, all these get dissolved into the soil, mixed into the soil. These are the nutrients which are required for the plants for their growth. So plants will absorb this. So student, there is a proper cycle of the nutrient from the sun to the producer, to the primary, secondary consumer, then the decomposers, then back to the environment, back to the soil or the water and the air. So this is how the energy or the nutrient flow takes place from one level to the other level in the food chain. And remember the 10% law. Whatever energy is transferred from one trophic level to the other trophic level, 10% of that energy is always lost into the environment due to the activities that are carried out by the organism. Now, out of this energy, though the energy goes back to the environment, the heat energy that was trapped from the sun will never return back to sun. That is, sun does not absorb any of the heat energy back. It is just giving. So if we talk about the energy flow, which starts from the sun and ends to the producer's back, it does not go to sun back. Hence, it is known as unidirectional flow. From here to here to here to here to here, decomposes. But it is not going back to the producers or to the sun. So this flow is known as unidirectional. So energy flow is always in one way or in one direction. But if we talk about the nutrients, production of nutrients starts from the producers. Producers will produce by the process of photosynthesis. It is transferred to the primary consumer, then to the secondary consumer, then to the decomposers. Decomposers will again make it into the simple form and mix it into the soil. From the soil, it will be absorbed back by the plants. If we talk in terms of the nutrients, the nutrient flow takes place in a proper cycle from producers back to the producer again. So it goes in a cyclic manner. Hence, it is a cycle. It is a proper cycle. This cycle of the nutrient flow is also known as biogeochemical cycle. Now, let us understand the components in the biogeochemical cycle. See, our ecosystem is divided into different spheres. Atmosphere is what we talk about, air or the space. Then you have the lithosphere. Lithosphere is all about soil. The layer formed by the soil is known as lithosphere. Similarly, the living organisms, that is including plants and all the other animals from bacteria, protists, viruses, they all forms the biosphere. Biosphere means all the living organisms. Okay. And whatever water is present on the earth, it forms the hydrosphere. Okay. Understood all the components of biochemical cycle. I have talked about 4 components. First is atmosphere, which comprises of air and space. Second is lithosphere, which comprises of soil or the earth surface. Third is biosphere, which comprises of all the living organisms. And fourth is the hydrosphere, which is the water. Now, all these components are interacting with each other. That is, the nutrients or the substances that are present in the environment, they keep on circulating in all these spheres. Okay. Now see, though the energy flow in an ecosystem is one way, the flow of nutrients is cyclical. All organisms need nutrients for their growth. Cyclic flow of nutrient within an ecosystem is called biogeochemical cycle. Nutrients necessary for growth of organism are continuously transferred from the abiotic components like soil, water, air to the biotic components like plants and animals. And from the plants and animals, it goes back to the abiotic component. So from abiotic to biotic and back from biotic to abiotic. It is a cycle within an ecosystem. The recycling of biological, geological, and chemical source of nutrient in this process is a complex process and depends upon the level of energy transfer in the ecosystem. Next, there are two types of biogeochemical cycle. Now let us understand this. First is gaseous cycle. Gaseous, as the name suggests, it is about the cycles of gas like carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, water vapors, methane, whatever gases are produced in the environment, whatever gases are present in the environment. That is the circle. The cycle of this gas is known as gaseous cycle. An accumulation of the main abiotic gaseous nutrients is found in the Earth atmosphere. Then second is the sedimentary cycle. Now, when we talk about sediment, that is the elemental forms, like you have calcium, iron, phosphorus, potassium, all these nutrients, they also keep on circulating, which are not gaseous form. We have studied the state of matters, like, so whatever substances are circulated in the form of gas, they fall under gaseous cycle, and what are circulated in the solid form, they form the sedimentary cycle. So an accumulation of main abiotic nutrient materials found in soil, sediment, and sedimentary rock of the earth, it forms the sedimentary cycle. When we talk in terms of the speed of circulation of this nutrient, we all know gas is lighter in weight. So the cycle of the gas is speeder than the sedimentation cycle, because sediments take long time for getting mixed into the environment as compared to the gases. Gas spreads out rapidly. Okay. For example, if carbon dioxide has accumulated in the area, it quickly dispersed with the wind or absorbed by the plants. Whereas if there are nutrients like calcium, iron, it takes time to get absorbed by the plants. Okay. Now, one more factor that affects The speed of this nutrient cycle is the human activity. We all know we carry out industrialization, we carry out deforestation. Now, due to deforestation, what happens? Loss of habitat for many of the organisms. So, the organisms which are found in a particular ecosystem are lost when we carry out deforestation. So again, the ecological cycle that is going on in that particular ecosystem gets disturbed. Similarly, we have interference with the process of agriculture, with the process of industrialization. Due to industries, we are adding more and more carbon dioxide and the other harmful gases into the environment. The speed or the rate at which we are releasing all these gases into the environment is much faster than it is occurring by the natural process. And even the amount is large. In an ecosystem, when we carry out industrialization, deforestation has taken place. So plants who are the absorber of all this carbon dioxide and the other pollutant gases, the number of plant is also reduced. So the absorbers of this gas is reduced. So this is how human activities are disturbing the ecological cycles. And hence we need to take some steps to control all these things. Okay. When we drive by the car, lot of pollutant gas are released. So the amount of gases that are added by the human activities are larger, whereas the organism which absorbs all these have reduced again by our own activities like deforestation and all. Okay. So this is how human activities affects the speed, intensity and equilibrium, that is balance of this cycle is all disturbed by the human activities. One more important thing is that the cycle of gas and the sedimentary cycle, they are not completely separate. Okay, they are intermingled with each other. How? For example, nitrogen is present in the form of gas in the atmosphere, and it is also present in the form of compound like nitrogen oxide, nitrates and nitrites in the soil and sediments. Similarly, carbon is also present in carbon dioxide, but it is also present in the form of coal, graphite, diamonds and limestone in the earth crust. Okay, so the gas as well as the sedimentary cycle, it is intermingled. The compounds are intermingled with each other in the atmosphere. If we talk about carbon, the carbon present in the body of plant and the animal is for very small duration. If we compare with it to the minerals that are found in the earth crust, see coal or the graphites, granites, limestone that is present in the earth crust is present from lakhs of years. But the lifespan of the organism is very short. Say max to max, the smaller animals will live for 5 to 20 years. Then humans, they live for 70 to 100 years. Plants survive for 100 to 150 years. So the lifespan of the living organism is very less as compared to the sediments that are present in the environment. So if we talk about the mineral nutrients, the presence of mineral nutrients in the body of organism is for shorter period of time. I hope you have understood it. Now let us quickly recap what we have studied today. Student, today we have discussed about the energy pyramid and energy flow. In the energy pyramid, we have seen that uh, Charles Hilton has managed to arrange the organism according to the trophic levels. That is the level at which they obtain their food. Okay. So those who are producing their own food forms the base of the pyramid. The number of these organisms and the energy present in the organism at each trophic level goes on decreasing from the bottom to the apex. Okay. When we talk in terms of the energy flow, it follows 10% energy loss law. What is that? Whatever energy is transferred from one organism to the other organism, or from the abiotic to the biotic organism, only 10% of the energy is transferred to the next trophic level, whereas the remaining 90% of the energy is lost in the environment in form of heat. See, whatever energy is released by sun, 90% is lost in the environment. Only 10% is transferred to the plants. From plants, 9% is lost in the environment, whereas only 1% is present in the form of food. Then when it is transferred to the next level, only 0.1%. And to the decomposers, only 0.1% of the energy reaches. So the maximum energy is lost in the environment, and only 10% of energy is transferred from one to the other form of organisms in the trophic level. Then students, we have discussed about the nutrient flow in an ecosystem. We have talked about the different components of the environment, which are the atmosphere, that is air, the lithosphere, that is soil and the earth crust, the hydrosphere, that is water bodies present on the earth, and of course the biosphere, that are the living organism found in all these components. They keep on interacting with each other through the energy flow or the food chain. Whatever is present in the atmosphere, lithosphere, or hydrosphere is absorbed by the biosphere, that is by the organisms for their growth and development. After death of each organism, same nutrients and the energy in the smaller amount is returned back to the environment after the process of decomposition. So the flow of nutrient in the environment always take place in a cyclic manner. Hence, it is a cycle which is known as biogeochemical cycle. Okay. When we talk in the term of flow of energy, the energy that is transferred from the sun never go back to the sun, or the energy that is transferred to the from the plant never comes back to plant, but it ends to the decomposer. After decomposition, only the nutrients are transferred. The energy is lost into the environment. So the energy does not go back to the first step. Hence, flow of energy is one-way flow, or it is also known as unidirectional flow. Whereas flow of nutrient is always a cycle. Whatever is absorbed by the living organism from the environment, it goes back to the environment after the death and decay of the organism. So it is a cycle. Now let us discuss the questions that are asked on this topic. First question is, energy flow through an ecosystem is one way. Just now I have explained, producers convert solar energy into chemical energy in form of organic compound. Primary consumer derive their nutrition from the producers. Energy transfer law, only 10% of energy is transferred from one trophic level to the other trophic level. So the energy that is captured by the producer does not revert back to the sun, and the energy transferred to the herbivore does not come back to the producer. It just keep on moving from one trophic level to the next trophic level. Hence, it is unidirectional. That is why flow of energy in food chain is always unidirectional or one way. Student, I would request you to please take screenshots so that you can write these answers in your notebook. Then the second question is, equilibrium is necessary in various biogeochemical cycles. Yes, why it's so? The cyclic flow of nutrient within an ecosystem is called biogeochemical cycle. Continuous transfer of nutrients which are necessary for growth of organisms occurs from abiotic to the biotic factors and biotic to abiotic factors in an ecosystem. Just now I have shown you the cycle, how it flows. This nutrient cycle operates continuously through the biosphere formed by lithosphere, atmosphere, and hydrosphere. Recycling of this biogeochemical depends upon the level of energy transfer in the ecosystem. Any type of disturbance at any level of this cycle affects the balance of ecosystem. Hence, there should be equilibrium in various biogeochemical cycles. Availability of nutrients will stop if there is any breakage or any disturbance in the nutrient cycle. The ecosystem will become deficit. Next question is, explain the following with suitable example. What type of changes occurs in the amount of energy during its transfer from plants to the apex consumer? I have explained you the 10% loss rule. Okay. What is that? Amount of energy reduces from the lower trophic level to the higher trophic level. Energy is lost as it gets transferred from one trophic level to the other trophic level. Why it is lost? It is lost because of metabolic heat. Okay. The organism of one trophic level consumes the organism of other trophic level. This can also be explained on the basis of 10% rule, which states that when energy is passed in an ecosystem from one trophic level to the next, only 10% of the energy will be passed on to the next trophic level. You have to draw this diagram and show it, which makes it clear how the 10% energy is only transferred. Next question is, what are the differences between flow of matter and of energy in an ecosystem and why? Major difference between flow of matter and energy is that flow of matter, that is flow of nutrient, occurs in cyclic manner. We have seen biogeochemical cycle. That is, it is recycled. However, in case of flow of energy, we have seen that the energy does not return back to any organism. So the flow of energy in an ecosystem is unidirectional, which is mean it is not recycled. See, following is the path. Decomposers releases nutrients when they break down the dead organism. nutrients are taken up by the plants from their roots. Then it is passed on to the primary consumers when they eat the plants. Nutrient passed to the higher level consumer when they eat lower level consumers. So the cycle keeps on repeating. The nutrient cycle will keep on repeating. Whereas in case of flow of energy, energy flows through an ecosystem only in one direction. From photosynthesis to herbivores, to omnivores and the carnivores, and from there it goes to decomposer. And as it passes it on from one trophic level to the other, less and less energy becomes available to support the life. This loss of usable energy occurs because each energy transfer results in dissipation of some energy into the environment as heat. So this is the reason why there is difference between flow of matter and flow of energy, because heat is lost into the environment and nutrients are not lost but they are recycled in the environment. There is difference between energy flow and nutrient flow in an ecosystem. So by this we end the topic. As class, we will discuss different types of energy nutrient cycles. Thank you, students, for listening to the lecture quietly, and I